Dear friends, audiophiles, music lovers, welcome to the first edition of Sound Liaison's new podcast series, where we will talk to different musicians about their latest album, recorded for this label indeed. And tonight, it's my great honor to be allowed to introduce to you Mike del Ferro, who has just finished recording a solo album for us, which is going to be released soon under the name of Skylark. Mike, let's start by the beginning. Your dad was an opera singer.
Yes. My dad was an opera singer. My dad was American, and he was a lyric tenor. And he moved to the Netherlands in the late 50s, early 60s. Then he met my mother, who was Dutch, and he never left. And he stayed in the Netherlands until he passed away in 92.
Okay. And he was a professional opera singer.
My father. He was. He sang with Maria Callas, La Scala, Milano. There was recordings with Donizetti that he sings through a role. He collaborated with Bernstein, with Toscanini, the conductor. My father sang at an extremely high level, but because he stopped his singing career when he was in his late 50s, because he was fed up with traveling and he wanted to change his life. And then afterwards, he discovered a revolutionary breathing method against stuttering, stammering. And then he dedicated his last 20 years to developing this method, which is called the Del Ferro method, anti-stuttering method. It's a great method. And then when he passed away in 92, then my sister, she continued the method. So the Del Ferro method, as like anti-stuttering method, exists. It's.
But how did he look upon jazz?
Oh, he was very open-minded. He was from that generation who loved also like Frank Sinatra. I was born. We had like these old 8-track cassettes. Which turned huge, but like this. And so he used to play a lot of Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole, all the crooners. Right. So I was next to opera and classical music dominated at home in terms of listening to music, but I was also really exposed to this kind of Sinatra, Nat King Cole. But he also, for instance, loved Art Tatum. So he was open. He was not like a purist, like only classical and opera. He was like that. No,
he was never disappointed in you in becoming a jazz pianist instead of going the classical route.
No, not really. Also because because when I started playing classical piano when I was 9, I played before like by ear, but I got my first lessons when I was around 9 years old. I loved it. Well, I liked it, but I was not like, oh, this is what I want to do. I always missed something. Despite being so young, I realized I'm playing all this music. I was quite good at it. I played the Mozart and the Chopin, the Beethoven, like the usual. And then when I discovered jazz, harmony, melody, rhythm, improvisation, the most important aspect for me, then I really became motivated. Then I really went for it. And when he saw my love for this music, he even started encouraging, and also he.
So that it didn't become, you didn't have to go to the piano because they told you to go do your study, but you did it yourself. That was what he saw happening.
Yeah, well, when I played classical, he was quite strict, I must say. Yeah. Okay. It was not easy. It was not because he was a great artist, and I know I have daughters myself, and they're into music too, and it's very hard to kind of not say anything, and just let them
was
be.
your father strict when you?
He was quite strict. Yeah.
So you had to study the piano a certain amount of hours a day.
Yeah. But on the other, but to be honest, I didn't find it always that easy. But looking back, also partly thanks to this, because him being so, kind of pushing it a little bit. I mean, it also brought me to a certain level.
Sure.
So now I benefited from it a lot.
Well, were you one of those kids sitting behind the piano, looking out the window, and then seeing the other kids playing football outside?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. Well, many times, actually.
Many times.
Yeah.
So you had to play the piano before you were allowed to go out?
Yes, yeah, and meet girlfriends and all of that, yeah.
How do you do that with your daughters now, then?
I'm well. That's an interesting question. I'm totally the opposite with my daughters, and sometimes I hear them like, you know, my oldest daughter, she plays guitar, she sings and piano, and then I notice certain things, and then I go like, you know, only when they ask, then I'll criticize or guide them, coach them, whatever. But like, no, you're doing it wrong, because that's, you know.
But they're allowed to go out and play football.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm not a strict father. No, not at all.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
And your mother was a musician too, or how did that work then? Or,
no, she wasn't. I mean, she was not a musician, but she loved music. She had no musical education, so she was not. She was not musically educated, but she loved music. And of course, you know, with the father being an opera singer. In fact, they met because she was like modeling. She was Desdemona, who had to lie dead in the opera. And my father was singing the role. That's in the Stad Schouwburg in Amsterdam, or our national opera theater, the only opera theater we have, or we used to have.
That's where they
at that
met.
time. Yeah. No, in fact, my dad, on a side note, was always surprised that the Netherlands was the only country in Europe without an opera house in that time. Oh, you had the Covent Garden, you know, the Opera de Paris, and everywhere, La Scala, you name it. But here in the Netherlands, there was not a proper opera house.
Not a dedicated opera house.
Yeah, a dedicated, exactly. Yeah. Wow. But so back to my mother, so she was lying dead, and he fell in love with her. And
playing dead.
Of course, and then he seduced her, and he never left the country.
Wow,
that's long story short.
So he came here as a touring artist for
yes,
that
exactly.
show.
Exactly. Yeah,
and
he was on tour. He also he came as a touring artist, and I think he
it was a project for him here.
And then he rented an apartment for a couple of years, and he was also a kind of Amsterdam as a home base. Because at that time he was traveling a lot. Yeah. And but then he never left Amsterdam.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And how did your mother look upon you playing jazz then?
Oh, my mother was very easygoing. My father was a big personality, you know, a little bit overbearing, really dominant. And my mother, for him, was a perfect fit because she was very easygoing, you know, like obedient, not in a bad way, but like really understood that he needed his space.
She was supporting the arts.
So he could do whatever he wanted with, you know, because he was like also kind of a chaotic personality, and
you know, and home base,
all these mood swings and all of that. And she was like very stable all the time.
So the center of the storm.
Exactly.
And when you then started playing jazz, and you got how did that come about? How did you make that switch then from what happened?
Well, so like I said before, I always kind of missed something, you know, and I was very young. You know, I was a teenager, an early teenager, and I couldn't figure out what was missing. And then on a rainy Sunday afternoon on the Dutch television, there was this movie. They showed a movie about Scott Joplin, and that was actually the first time that I heard the piano being played in such a different way, with that left hand and the swing, and you know, like the pre-stride piano style. And I was so fascinated by it, and then I went and I bought a record, and I bought a book with the music, and I started practicing it and trying to develop the left hand and the swing, and that's how I slowly started listening to pianists like Fats Waller, James P. Johnson, really, I kind of really went chronologically through
really
the whole
crazy,
jazz history.
So for a pianist of your generation, so you start with Scott Joplin and you went up through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I discovered Oscar Peterson.
So all the
Bud
modern
Powell,
piano, but that all came later then. So
and then and also like the pianists like who incorporated a lot of classical music in their playing, like of course Bill Evans, who had such a tremendous influence on Keith Jarrett.
When did you get to Bill Evans? But first you had Scott Joplin, and then you had James P. Johnson at Fats Waller. And
then this moment came. I don't remember exactly.
Did you go to Art Tatum after Fats Waller?
Yeah, because my dad loved Art Tatum. So when he noticed I was into that stuff with the stride, he bought me some Art Tatum records. So I was really in that kind of stride swing. Peterson, Art Tatum, Fats Waller, James P. Johnson, that kind of really rhythmical, bluesy, And then a couple of years later, then I discovered Bill Evans, and then I realized, whoa, this man, how he kind of blends this classical approach into this piano, and that was the thing for me. That was the real discovery. Because I love to play in trio and rhythmical stuff, but then this beautiful piano sound, which they, which of
then
course,
it all came together from your classical, from your classical studies as a kid, exactly,
like an impressionistic approach to jazz piano, and of course, and then I started, of course, listening to Keith Jarrett and Fred Hirsch, and all these pianists I admire a lot for their sounds.
Sound.
The sound.
There we go again.
There we go.
There we go. Because all the years I have known you, sound. That's something that, I know if I say sound to you, then we can talk for the next 3 hours.
Sound and touch. Yeah.
Sound and touch.
Yeah. It's. I simply. I've been. Obsessed almost with the sound of the piano, and because there are so many incredible jazz pianists who I admire, who can do so many technical things which I will never be able to do, which I really envy. But sometimes, if it comes to really making the piano sound beautiful, I think sometimes it's a little bit neglected. It's more focused on technique, on lines, on and all of that. And but of course, like I said, Bill Evans for the third time, Keith Jarrett, but also, for instance, another pianist I really admire for this is Gonzalo Rubalcaba. He's known for his virtuosity, but check his solo playing; it's out of this world. How he makes the piano sound. Or his ballad playing.
One of his first records where he played Besame Mucho with Jack DeJohnette and Charlie Hayden. It's just it's fantastic.
It's incredible. And again, Fred Hirsch. That's the thing I love. Pianists who really are very into this classical approach of piano sound, and I think I love this because of my classical background, and I just simply love beautiful piano sound. So I've been trying to approach it myself, and I'm still working on this touch on a daily basis.
Yeah, but I mean, when I hear you play, I hear this extraordinary singing quality to your melodic lines. It's
Thank you.
And I understand now, hearing from where you come from, that it all makes sense. Having heard all those singers. It's probably so ingrained in you that it has to come out somewhere.
Yeah. And especially in the last years, I thought about. I've been thinking like, what? I mean, I still love to play in with bands and all of that. But in the last years, I'm really emphasizing on this beautiful sound. Also, I prefer not only but I really love to play slow music. I could play like ballads all night, and just play and try to make the piano sound and use the overtones and sometimes adding some keyboards with really
use the
beautiful
overtones.
pads.
How do you use the overtones on the piano?
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, then please subscribe, leave a rating and a review. Please visit my website, mikedelferro.com, where you also will find links to my other podcasts, self-management for musicians. You will also find links to my music and my socials. And of course, please share this podcast with anyone interested. Nothing beats the word of mouth. Thank you.
Well, yeah, that's it depends on the piano and the acoustics. But I noticed, like, depending on where I am and on these circumstances, the overtones sound different, and I will change. I will play like different voicings. It changes, yeah. It influences a lot.
But so you're aware of the overtones it produce when you play a perfect fifth. So you play an octave, or you put the fifth on top of the octave. And
It's not that theoretical and not this. I kind of feel it. I hear the colors resonating, and then I resonate to those colors, to those sounds. It's not like, oh, now this is a perfect fifth, and I play the D here, it's going to produce an A there. It's not that I could if I analyze it. That's a little bit like Jaco Pastorius when we talk bass playing, which is my field. He said he was sometimes not really aware of the name of the harmonics. No.
But he kind of knew which harmonics to go with intuitively at that moment because he knew them so well.
I think it's more also in my case, I'm very grateful for having perfect pitch. And that helps me a lot. Perfect pitch is it's not great when the piano's out of tune, or when you have to transpose. Sometimes it's tricky. I find it difficult, but of course, there's so many benefits there. And but also, I'm trying, because I hear things so fast. I'm trying to let it go and just listen to the actual sound and not analyze like what's going on theoretically.
No,
So. Yeah.
And you mentioned when you actually we can start it different. When you came and we were going to do the recording and you brought in that keyboard.
Yeah, the keyboard.
I was, said, my God, what's happening here? He's bringing it. We have this one of the best grand pianos of the Netherlands standing there in Studio 2.
Yeah. The most expensive microphones.
One of the best tuners in the Netherlands. The most expensive microphones. And there you go, and you start with putting this keyboard on top.
Hence, you guys being in the high end audio recording, and Well, the thing is, first of all, I love keyboard, but also from playing with Toots Tielemans, I played a lot with Toots Tielemans over a period for 10 years. And when Toots passed away 4 years ago, I realized I played like around 150 concerts with him. The gig of my life, with this man.
I can imagine.
Because with Toots, the thing is, there are so many incredible musicians to play with, and I've been very fortunate. I'm very, very grateful. But the difference with Toots was he was a pioneer, and being surrounded with a pioneer is a once in a lifetime opportunity, because someone who really from scratch, takes like this harmonica and creates all this music from scratch, from nothing. Of course, there is a brilliant mind behind that, and if you are like in Japan for 3 weeks on planes, on buses, on trains, talking to this man, and you become friends and all of that. And I learned so much, not only on stage, but also...
but he was the one who said, please bring a keyboard.
That's why I
remember you told me in another conversation that you said, I'm going to play all this acoustic jazz now, and it's going to be, straight ahead. And he says, might bring a keyboard.
Well, Toots, of course, always loved playing with orchestras. He always loved this big sound behind him. And of course, then when you are in the trio setting, a trio backing him up, then you kind of get. He wanted a keyboard to produce string sound, a pad, and then I realized on a keyboard, if you really start using the strings, you get like this real plastic sound.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if you have like the pads, the soft pads, which why can I say the Roland? Roland has great pads, the dark pads, and then by cutting the high notes, even make them sound even darker, and then for me that was a very beautiful sound, and to use to back him up. So I played like the left hand. I played a chord, and then sometimes lines, in between lines when he was playing. And then of course I realized, well, I can of course do this solo as well.
But you tweaked the sound of the Roland.
Yes, I did.
But you tweaked it to fit the grand piano.
Yeah, to let it make it blend with acoustic instruments.
So you would not have tweaked the sounds in that way if you would not have played it with acoustic instruments. Maybe.
No, if it would be like a pop band, it probably would have been different.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those sounds, those are designed for an electronic environment.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But you had really great knowledge, because when you put that piano on, I was like, hey, Mike, we're going to make a one mic recording here,
Yeah.
And now you come with a keyboard. How are we going to do it?
Yeah.
And we have this ideal spot for a microphone, and Francis experimented for quite a long time to really find the sweet spot. And everything is ready for it. And then you come with a keyboard, and you were like, don't worry, it's going to sound great, because I have exactly the right amount of volume I can put in. And okay, when you did it, I had I really had to make a switch my mind.
No.
It sounds fantastic.
Yeah,
it really adds something.
Yeah, but, I look. We don't need. We never really talked about it, but I felt your resistance. To be honest, But at the same time,
the look on my face when you walked in.
But I realized, No, because you guys expected like that I would only play like acoustically, given the fact that it's a high-end audio project label, and but I knew, of course, from by experience, I thought, if I'm going to bring this keyboard. Maybe maybe they're going to be a little bit. They're going to go like what the hell is this? But I'm going to make them happy. And on the end, if you guys would have really not would have digged the sound, I would have done it. I wouldn't have done it.
But also when you saw the concert, the people after the concert, because they were mesmerized by it. They loved it. And because it did add something else. It's not just your typical piano recital. Suddenly it was because and the main reason I love to, of course, because the sound, it makes it like more orchestral. And the other thing, of course, is no matter how much I love the piano, when you sustain a note, it dies. And with the keyboard, you press it and it stays there like an organ, or you use a sustain pedal, and so you can play you can even play a sound, press the sustain, and it sounds, and then play all this. But it's also the tweaking you have done, because that's again one of the fears I had. If I, as a bass player, if I have to play with a Fender Rhodes or electronic keyboard. I have a tendency to bring my electric upright bass instead of my acoustic bass.
Because of the blending.
Because of the blending. Because if I bring my acoustic bass, it cuts the harmonics that we just talked about. So you feel like you're playing underwater or something like that. And maybe that was also why I got like, oh my God, a keyboard. This can't be true. Not with this beautiful piano.
No.
And it just works. So, but that is.
Yeah, well, you have to be very aware, and like in the past. For me, was an amazing example. Lyle Mace, he was such already in the 80s. With where the techniques with the keyboards were in a much earlier stage. How he made the Pat Metheny group sound with those keyboards, with the grand piano, in the middle, as still the main instrument, and then he had all these keyboards. Zawinul was also amazing with keyboards, amazing, more in like a jazz fusion electric setting, but Pat Metheny, Lyle Mace really brought it because in a little bit more acoustic kind of setting.
And made it work,
Yeah.
And those records, they still hold up. That's very true. They still sound good.
It's amazing, And then those records from the 80s, how those keyboards, how warm they sound. And
but talking about the 80s, that's about the only keyboard sound from the 80s that I find acceptable for my ears. I find it sounds dated now.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. You have to be careful that it doesn't sound plastic.
Yeah, exactly.
Plastic, fantastic. No, you have to really. But it's very simple for those of you who are listening or watching or both. the so-called trick is easy. Just cut all the highs, really to zero. Yeah. Very like brutal.
Wow.
You know, no mercy. And then all those zzz, those those sounds which kind of make it sound plastic, they disappear. It becomes like almost like a muddy sound, which I think works great in combination with.
Without it wouldn't work.
It depends. Sometimes, especially when I travel to countries, because the thing is, the closer to the equator, the harder it is to find good pianos. Yeah. Especially when you go to more challenging countries like in Africa, or what I love to do, to do these fusions with world music and this adventurous stuff. Which is also a big part of me. That has nothing to do with piano sound and touch. It's a whole other world. Then, as long as there is the Roland, because I really know that keyboard, then I can tweak it. And then even in that setting, it kind of works. Like if you do, like in Africa, I did a duet once with a singer, and only a pad, and singing all these lines, and it works. But then I mix it also with the Rhodes sound. So you do hear the cling, the sound, and
that's
then
again two pianos. Then you have a Rhodes and you
Rhodes
sound.
You press two. You press two sounds like a dual thing, and then you can mix the sounds. So because I simply also love electronics, but the big challenge with electronics, using electronics, is taste. And that's the thing, especially now with all these zillion plugins, all these possibilities. It's a little bit like option paralysis. What are you going to use? And like a Chinese menu.
You just use the keyboards as it was.
Yeah.
And I remember I said to you, should we put down these big studio monitors then?
No.
Just and it fits. And also the way you position, you said that goes along the strings. It makes makes the strings resonate together with the sound.
Because but this particular model, which I have, has built-in speakers, but it's actually amazing how good they sound. And of course, when you have a great microphone so close, you don't need to turn it up that much in this, because the microphone really picked up the sound.
And I can imagine the way you put it, because you put it on top and it goes into the
lid, it goes straight.
And then it projects out, so the whole grand piano becomes like a speaker box for it as well, I guess.
Because if I'm not mistaken, this is the same microphone,
this
right? This is the one,
That's the Joe.
This is
Josum 700S.
And it costs a fortune, but it sounds incredible.
It's cost a fortune, but it was every penny.
Well,
and we didn't get any sponsorship from Joseph, and we just bought it.
Well, fantastic.
Back to church with the piano, because you told me a while ago, you said, I start my day with practice in church, and I end my day with practice in church, when you're in a practice period.
You mean sound?
The sound,
touch.
On the piano.
Yeah.
So, but you have been playing piano for like 40 years now, more or less.
Because
and it's still so. When you have your practice routine day, that's what you get into. You have developed certain exercises then, or is there a certain school you follow in order to do that? Or?
Well, there are. It depends a little bit. If I have to prepare new music, that'll be the main focus.
Of course.
But sometimes it can happen. I played a concert, and things don't go. Didn't go how I wanted them to go. I wasn't, I criticize myself. I'm not too hard on myself anymore. I'm more mellow, but I don't want to be my own like my father. But of course, I mean that's normal. You're a musician and you make mistakes, or you go like, oh, these chord changes, whatever it is, technically that thing, and then that's what because it's still fresh. That's what I will polish first and work on that and try to make that better. But despite that, I always take care of that sound. I'm trying to even, whenever I play a melody, single line melody with the phrasing and like spacing between the notes, the right dynamics. It's like. I'm still not there. I will never be there.
No.
But there is always, but that's a beautiful challenge.
But the exercises you use for, is it that you have developed them yourself through the years, or Is for
Yeah,
the piano players that might be watching? Is there any book or school you can recommend then? Or?
Well, yeah. I mean, we don't have a piano here,
No.
but what I can explain, I think, which will be quite clear to pianists and people interested. Look, I don't see the piano, I don't see the keyboard, the keys as something you press. You press. How I look at it, like these keys, because they release, and I approach it like a kind of a trampoline, and I use this kind of gentle, or like you're bouncing a ball, that nice feeling of bouncing and that flow. That kind of thing, and the keys, especially when you have a great piano, kind of lift you and makes it very light.
Okay.
And by using the gravity, just kind of let it happen, allow it to happen. The sound, even if I play like percussive, I can do it for a long time without getting tired because I don't really press. I mean, of course, I can move my fingers quite fast because of all the years of playing, but it comes more from gravity, and then this nice bouncing feeling of the keys pressing, and that kind of makes the sound, I think, light. You have much more control over the sound, and I think you never play too loud. I don't like too loud piano playing, even if I'm playing like with like a loud drummer or in a loud environment, whatever. I don't like to overplay the piano and bang it. Even also when I do this, then I get stiff, and then I get blocks me. But if I keep this kind of this bouncing trampoline, bouncy feeling, then I'm in control of the sound.
And then because you travel so much, you play the whole world. And you get all these different pianos. And sometimes, I know you just walk into a venue and there's a piano tuned more or less. But that aside, the mechanical, especially say in the more hot countries, the mechanical condition of a piano can suffer greatly. So, but is there sometimes where you just have to say with this piano, well, all my ideas about touch, I just throw it out the window, or do you always find somehow to approach the touch in the piano?
Of course, look. In the last years, playing at good venues, this problem is less. Although it's still surprising and shocking, actually, how many bad pianos there are.
No, but actually, a couple of years ago, back at the jazz club, the Alto, where I play every Monday. I called you because the piano player got sick. I called you on the last minute, and you said, "Hey, why not? Let's play." I guess I have to play the Alto at least once a year since I'm back in Amsterdam. And the piano at that particular evening was in a horrible condition. They got an electronic piano now, which is at least in tune and all that. But I remember that I came before you and I just touched the piano, set it up a little bit, and I said, "Oh my God, here comes Mike!" And the piano is probably the tuner hasn't been there. He's supposed to come every Monday, but he didn't. So it was horrible out of tune. But you never complained there. We had a real fun evening. But you kind of said, "Well, okay, this is it."
Well, but that's also really a mentality thing, and even almost like maybe even a spiritual thing. I mean, you arrive at a jazz club at Monday night. You're replacing someone who got sick, so you rush to there's nothing you can do but accepting. Don't resist it.
You could have said, "Peter, why you call me on a piano like this? What are you thinking?"
Well, this is one of my favorite jokes. You know how to make a musician complain?
No.
Give him a gig.
That's a good one. Yeah.
I mean, there's always something to complain about, and especially when it comes to pianos. I mean, I know people who would just walk away, but at that moment, and even. I just make the best out of it. Exactly. But this also has to do with all this, I've worked for 15 years for a cultural organization. They send me all over the planet to do these projects with like tradition. I said something about it before, like ethno, world music, you name it. You know, so so at some point you can be in Eritrea or in Mauritania or in Kyrgyzstan or Kazakhstan or any stan or or you know with and then it's actually better to play a keyboard. I'd rather play a good keyboard
than a very bad piano.
Oh yeah, because but I learned to deal with it because you know otherwise you shouldn't accept the offer, the tour.
You take the gig or you don't.
But
the piano reminds me. When I was in New York, I had theory lessons from the great teacher Gary Dial.
Yeah,
and he has this piano in his living room, and he told that when Bill Evans got 50, Gary organized his 50th birthday in his apartment.
Yeah.
And Gary was just about to get rid of his grand piano because he thought it was harsh and stiff. And Fred Hurst also came by his place, and everybody was saying, "Yeah, that piano, Gary, you know, you really got to get a better instrument. You know? It's a grand piano, but you better get a Yamaha upright or something because this is not working." Bill Evans comes to this party. All piano players, all of New York were there, and finally, at the end of the party, Bill Evans sits down to play something.
And he makes it sound beautiful.
Exactly. And Gary Bill Evans just played a little piece. And Gary, just the sound there, it was just, and he was standing right next to him, and it sounded fantastic. And Gary said, "I'm not going to sell this piano till I have that sound."
But that's the spirit.
Gary was a hell of a piano player, right? And he still has the piano.
That's you know that's the I think that's the right attitude. I mean, of course, what can you do? It's you know, I do have one funny story here because I love humor and all this. You know, when one of my first gigs, I mean, I'm talking about many years ago, I had to play at this club and. I wasn't sure about the piano, so I phoned to the jazz club, and this lady answers the phone, you know, and I said, "Well, this is Mike, and I'm going to play at your club. And what kind of piano do you have?" He said, "Oh, just a second." And you put it on, and the footsteps, you know, and looking louder. And she said, she comes back and said, "It's green." Green.
Jesus. It's green.
It's green. I mean, and then I realized, you know, okay, this is. Is this my future? Especially when you play jazz, and you know, like now, fortunately, I play in a lot of theaters, concert halls, or the great clubs, and then there's no problem. But in the whole like the jazz club scene, it came off. It's But again, you know, it's all about staying positive.
Listen to the old Bill Evans records, that first solo record of Bill Evans. The piano is horrible out of tune. Even on Kind of Blue, the piano is kind of out of tune. And we all love the sound of that album. And like Franz, I mean, if the piano is not perfectly tuned, he stops the session because it's like, I can't make a sound if it's not sounding perfect. You know.
And actually, I remember a couple of years ago, I was playing at this festival in Haiti, and Gonzalo was there too, Gonzalo Rubalcaba, who I admire so much, and you know, and we both had really challenging piano, and also Gonzalo, he didn't make, he realized I'm here, and of course, but he also has a background being from Cuba, all these Cuban music, all these pianos there. That's
the humidity they have.
But they grew up playing on horrible instruments, and then it's up to you how you deal with it.
Exactly.
But sometimes if drummers go like, or other musicians, other instrument, they go like, oh, I have to carry all that stuff. Then sometimes I say, hey man, you it's better to carry your own instrument and make sure you have your own stuff there, because as a piano player you never know what to expect.
Exactly.
So so even if you're slapping again, think about that.
If I bring a little bit back to the Josephson, you also mentioned, you actually said something very, very pretty. You said to me, I wish that Franz had come in my life much earlier. Franz
He's sitting right there engineering this podcast. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've worked with some incredible technicians, and the best we have also abroad, here in the Netherlands and abroad. But sometimes you meet people you meet someone. When I met Franz, you know, I didn't one single time I had to go like, can you maybe EQ the piano here? You know, he felt exactly the sound I love to hear. He just feels it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's what that makes it so easy to.
Is that a kind of extreme empathy he has for sound? He hears
Yes.
you, and then
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
the sound that comes back. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Of course, there's a great piano here at the studio and all of that. Great Steinway, you know. But you know, sometimes also because it's like it's also a taste thing. You know, a lot of some engineers they have a kind of their vision, which I deeply respect about how a piano should sound, maybe more bright or you know, a little bit more thin and all of that. And but I really love this dark, deep piano sound, especially for solo.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you play in trio and with other instruments, maybe you cannot make it sound that big because then you know. But
And that experience, like in the beginning when we were setting up for the recording session, and Franz is moving the microphone 2 centimeters to the right, 2 centimeters to the left, a little bit higher, a little bit lower, and it's just running up and down or sending me down and pushing it a little bit forward.
Amazing.
But it takes hours in the beginning, but you were cool with that because you trust him so much as an engineer. You know that. Even though we are talking millimeters sometimes.
You know, it's such a blessing if you can just sit down and play without having to worry about your sound or this sound.
But it does take time in the beginning to set up. Where maybe maybe other engineers are faster.
But of course, you know, I mean, this microphone and the others you guys use, they're so incredibly sensitive. If you move them like an inch or a centimeter, it's already a huge difference. So
it's incredible because like with your system, I said, this sounds great, Franz. We're here. Let's go. You know. Franz, come on, let's go. I just have to. And he's always right.
And also when we mixed the album, I was already over the moon with the sound, and then he is able to bring out sounds to mix it in such a way that I hear.
It's actually more mastering what we're doing.
The mastering. The mastering. That I hear sounds from the piano which I didn't know they existed. So it's really amazing.
I just
sound,
looked at my computer before I came here. So how many versions? In the beginning, it's just 1 or 2 tunes. And there's very slight tweaks, you know, and but it's one after the other. You know? But the funny thing, when I put on the first and put on the last, you can you see that whole development, and it's small increments, but it's
and then even I also think sometimes that's also the danger, you know, because if you are at some point you have to like be happy and put it out, and otherwise you're going to have sleepless nights. And
I think that's why I'm here, because we've got to make a deadline. It has to come out now.
But but you know because you know.
I know that he has sleepless nights.
He does.
He can't sleep from just is thinking about, maybe it should be that, or maybe
and get out of bed at 3 in and still try to. Is that true, Franz? But you know, I love people who have like this incredible sense for details in any field, because details is what makes the difference in good and great. That's what I think.
In that sense, he's just like us, the musicians. Of
course,
it never stops.
I mean, you know, if you hear really like fantastic musicians playing or singing, it's every detail is there. You know, they take care of the details. I mean, but that's in many professions, many fields.
Exactly,
it's all about the details. You know, so that's
and the strive for a certain type of perfection.
You could say. Or at least perfection.
Perfection,
that can be a frustrating term. But it's always a beautiful challenge there in making it trying to make the best out of.
And that's
the
maybe also where the
possibilities.
one mic comes in the sense that you limit yourself to a certain amount there, because you only have that one mic. You can't move certain microphones closer to the hammers, like you one mic further back and one close to the hammers and one there. I mean, sometimes you end up with 8 mics to record just one piano. And you have that, so you have made that limitation. So then the expertise goes into just using. Creating something out of that limitation. Just like you would a bad piano in the jungle somewhere, you know.
No, but again, it's remarkable that if you would move it now like tiny bit, it'll pick up other stuff. It's amazing. It's like we're going to sell this becomes like a selling affiliate video for.
Joseph Sunday are going to be very happy with this interview. I'm sure. What does the future hold for you now? What are the plans for the coming years? Now we have Corona and all this stuff going on. So it's a whole world that has disappeared certainly for a while for you.
Yes. Well, I'm always very active in things and trying to come up with new ideas. And when one thing I always wanted to do, and I never had the time for it because I was always playing and traveling, was to focus a little bit more on live streaming and reaching audience through the internet rather than travel all the time to a faraway place and all of that. A little bit less traveling, more at home. And of course, then when we got the lockdown, that was then I had no excuse.
Oh, so you had already started that process a little bit. You were thinking about it. Thinking about it.
But that was really on the level, like you just put your phone out and you do go live on Facebook or whatever and stream, with the built-in microphones, whatever, all of that. But then I thought, okay, I want to try to bring this to a higher level, and I really for a week, because I was alone, I went totally into YouTube tutorials. What do I need to live stream, and then I just started. Like after 5 days, I bought some microphones and all of that. Not on this level, but and I just started live streaming. And then I was amazed how much this live streaming, how many people it reached already after. When I started, maybe 200-300 people would watch the live streams. Now it's thousands.
Really?
It's amazing. And so many. And then I realized, wow, nowadays. My mission is I just want to share good music with people, and that's still a niche market, but there are so many people out there who love it. So the playing, explaining about music. Sometimes I did some piano lessons online where people could ask questions during the live stream, and then I place the microphone on top so people see my hands.
The camera, you mean?
The camera. Sorry. Sorry, the camera. And things like that, and interviewing guests, something I really love to do because there's so many amazing people out there. And have them play on the show. And why I'm bringing it up, it's not to promote the live streaming, but this is a great alternative for these strange times because, now we're in late June 2020 when this podcast is being recorded, and I have the feeling that it's going to take at least a year before things get back to normal.
Probably.
In terms of playing for an audience, people feeling safe to go out to concerts and all of that. So. Therefore, I think that the internet streaming is it's not the solution, but it's a great alternative. That's how I look at it. Of course, nothing beats being with people, playing with people you love, and have a great time and dinner and fun and all of that. Everything which But
but there's one thing you said, because now we're talking about streaming, but remember. When you played at the concert and you played this Red Beast from the Dutch
from
movie
from
Turkish Fruit,
Turkish Fruit, Turks Fruit, yes, Dutch
which
movie.
is I know the movie being Danish, but but I had no idea that song had such an impact.
Oh yeah,
and the audience were like it really touched them. And
Yeah.
when they came out of the concert, they were really talking about
this
specifically
particular
that piece.
yeah.
And I mentioned it to you. You were sitting up here, and just everybody's talking about the Red Beast. I said to you, and you said, yeah, there was something there. You said that's all you said. But when you mentioned there was something there that you felt something with the audience. You felt a certain connection when you started playing that, or that.
And
you feel an awareness with the audience there.
And yesterday when you called me to prepare this podcast on the phone, you also asked me about you're not afraid to just play a melody in its original. Simple, I wouldn't say it's simple, but it's in its original way, without like a lot of runs, without a lot of technique, without virtuosity, just the plain melody. And like I said before in this interview, I could play ballads and slow music. I love slow music. I love playing slow music. And
because
it allows you to
the space between the notes. That was so impressive. I found with the way you play a ballad. You don't need to do a modant on top of it or whatever. You just dare to just go bam from one note to the next.
And that's also this also has to do with the sound to really phrase the melody, to connect the notes, and not be afraid to take time. To play those melodies really slow, and when you asked me yesterday, I realized that, for instance, going back to my youth, if you listen to Frank Sinatra, how he executes a melody in its purity, without too many, it's so. Just the melody, and then even with an incredible orchestra behind him, he was not afraid to take time and hold back. And that beautiful phrasing and breathing and space and all of that. That's something I've really worked on in the last years. And I'm not, also in these crazy times with so much. We were bombed all this information and fast and all this
information. Stream of
recently. I was driving and I heard on the radio, the Dutch radio, someone saying that the amount of information, of data, which we have to digest on our phones every day is the same amount as 1 year in the 80s. So, no wonder that there is so much anxiety and depression and insomnia, stress and all of that.
There's been a research that says if you're on Facebook, it's a little bit like if you're a content in the X Factor or something like it, because you're constantly being forced to judge whether like or not like. If you post something yourself, don't you like it? And it's an extreme stress factor. So
that's a little bit ironic sometimes, because on one hand, for me, Facebook is an incredible tool. I reach thousands of people. Much more than on YouTube. At this moment, I'm trying to make my YouTube channel grow, but compared to Facebook, it's nothing. On Facebook, I have a huge following, and it pushes it to Instagram. So all this, and I really have this love-hate relationship with social media because I benefit from it a lot, being a musician and especially the online thing now. And at the same time, I realize how much anxiety it causes. And in all honesty. In the beginning of the live stream, I saw like, only 150 people were watching, and still, if there is like, I can see the statistics afterwards, and I'm like, tonight there were only 700, and then of course, I go, and then you're in that you get soaken into that thing of comparing, and how many likes does the neighbor have, and that family looks much happier than we do, and all this stuff. It causes, it's the main, it's one of the main reasons for depression, because of the comparison, and of course. And when you think about it, and you go like, in these times where everybody is online, you're playing. I'm not playing music for the millions. I'm in a niche I'm in a niche, and then 700 people watch this on a Monday evening. Where am I talking about? That's incredible.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's something to be so grateful for. So you know, but sometimes you have to. So when you're into the social media thing, you constantly have to go like, you know, do this reality check. You know, like stay with yourself and enjoy every it's a challenge because there's a big danger there, and because we're so overwhelmed with information. And I also realized this with other musical developments, that people are fed up sometimes with too much information, too much noise. And I realize now when I play like more like slow music, meditative, whatever, minimal, more quiet, really like quite calm stuff. People love it, because there is a need for this, and I love to do it. So
one
it's
thing we
good.
didn't talk about because now we get into this. We put it on a few pieces that we recorded as a sound check, which was a kind of collaboration between you and Franz, where you would. At one moment you would hit the strings while you press the chord with the left hand.
Yeah, or is there like some sound effects?
Franz would take that and extend it into one big pad, and then you would start improvising on top of the pad.
Yes. Yeah.
Which created some amazing sounds.
Because
Franz has this extreme knowledge of how to
the plugins
add the right amount of reverb on it and so forth and so forth.
Yeah.
But that is. Because that sounds like Zen music. It sounds like
because you know, if you put a lot of delay on the piano, it almost forces you to play slow, or at least stay in the same kind of flow. You know, you cannot do a lot of chord change, because then it's gonna blur. You know, it doesn't sound right. But if you put a lot of reverb soundscapes on the piano, then that almost forces you in playing slow and take your time.
Yeah, because you would just play one chord, you play one voicing, and then that would be it, and then you would very carefully just pick notes on top of whatever you heard. It got quite magical.
It's like more ambient.
And then again, as a producer there, I said, hey, we were making a solo piano record. What is this now about? And I'm listening. Oh, this sounds quite amazing. I'm really happy with it. But even an old conservative like me.
But well, you know, but and of course, you know, it goes hand in hand with what we were talking about before. You know, you have the keyboard, you have this pad, and it sustains, and like playing a chord which is sampled and putting into a loop, or a lot of reverb, a lot of delay with a lot. That's also then that's a way to sustain the piano, and I love these long sounds.
But it's a whole different frame of mind than if you're playing
bebop.
Bebop, for example.
There's no comparison, of course.
I fall in love too easily. Or,
with
chord changes or whatever. Because there you just have it one chord. No, this is more like, you know, because I also love the frame of mind you're in. If I can just stay on that for a second.
State of mind,
So, I mean, if you take your typical jazz ballad with 2 chords per measure, and you have the melody, you have to follow certain things, and now suddenly there's just that one chord. That sounds there. You have to make that. It's a different way of thinking. Is that where your perfect pitch come in, or where? Well, but it must be a different frame of mind, no?
But it also has to do with the fact that, you know, I'm not like I don't consider myself like a jazz pianist. How I look at it is because maybe, like, for instance, I've discovered like minimal music.
But you don't consider yourself a jazz piano player?
I mean, of course, maybe as the bass, you know, as a bass, but after discovering people like I don't know if you know him, Olafur Arnalds. He is this Icelandic pianist with all the space. You know, it's very electronic, but you know, and he has it's very very ambient. It's all about soundscapes, you know, and you hear like the Icelandic, Scandinavian, all of that whole space thing, but kind of almost like you know, going more towards ECM sounds, where they also use all this space. I love this. I love this space in music,
Yeah.
that's very different than Bach or whatever, or a bebop with zillion changes with 4 chord changes in one bar. But I see it as two different things.
But from there to go to not call yourself a jazz piano player, because I have played bebop with you, and you sure can play your bebop.
Yeah, and I love to do it.
Yeah, okay.
I love to do this. But if I would be, I cannot put a huge delay on the piano and then play Scrapple from the Apple.
No, that wouldn't
you know, I mean, that's not going to work.
No.
So I just see it as something different. And
I was just more inquiring into your state of mind between those two things, because there must be a different. The moment you play bebop, you play your typical jazz ballad.
A
Gershwin tune. There's certain rules you have to stick by.
Yeah.
So you have your inspiration, but you have to follow certain rules. And here, when you go and play on one chord, it's so naked somehow, no?
But then it comes in so handy to use the reverb. So the chord starts, it becomes bigger because of the effects. Or simply, even if I play solo without any effects or whatever, just by sustaining it and then use the whole keyboard and playing more like arpeggios. That's why I love minimal music. But of course, you can only do this this approach when there are not too many chord changes or only a few changes in the notes.
Yeah, because
it's a whole different. It's a different approach. And I love both. I'm just open to.
I keep leading the witness, but there must be a different mental stage, mental way of thinking.
But that's of course why I love to play solo, because I got all the freedom.
Yeah.
If I play solo, a concert or whatever, in whatever situation.
But you don't have a problem with the switch.
No.
So you play like on the album, you play in a sentimental mood. You have 2 chords per measure. Yeah. And the next moment you go into D flat delay, which is just
only D flat.
Only D flat with a delay.
Yeah.
But it's really somewhere else.
It's a whole other. Yeah, it's a whole other world. But in the last years, I've focused a lot. I met this wonderful Dutch pianist, Jeroen van Veen. And we became close friends, and we have a duo. And he really introduced me to the world of minimal music, which was, which is something I still had to kind of really dive into.
Okay.
And because in the beginning, and I really started to appreciate it and to really love it. And then I realized, it enables you to use the piano in a very different way. So I've worked on it a lot too in the last years.
So it's a new technique to learn. New music to learn.
Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah, and there's I realize now, after all this playing for so many years, so many concerts, being to date, I've been to 117 countries.
So
I know nothing. I know nothing. What do I know? I know nothing. There's so much to learn. There's so many styles to be discovered, and you hear these new young guys coming up like Jacob Collier, Tigran Hamasyan, and so many other amazing young. I mean, I'm not that old, but I'm another generation, of course. And you hear these people coming up with all these fantastic ideas, and then I realize it keeps there's so going, you have to. I think I would have to live at least 10 lives in order to get somewhere.
Yeah, but it's like a talk with Afan Royan, with you also releasing soon. He's 90.
90 years
fantastic.
old.
And when you talk to him, he's still so busy with everything. He's still, he was into now. What he talks about now is what do you hear while you play?
Yeah,
that was his big thing at the moment. He says for the last 20 years, I'm busy with. What do you hear while you're playing? So while I play my soul, how much can I hear at the same time?
Yeah.
Not necessarily leaving the space, but the moment I play the note, do I still hear everything around me?
It's
again a big awareness thing, and it's refreshing talking
Yes,
to him.
Good
friend of Toots also, by the way.
Yeah. Toots had sayings like that. He would say like, if you're playing, take take your ear off your head and put it on the piano.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Take your ear off your head.
Yeah.
Put
Put your ear on the piano.
Yeah.
In other words, really listen to what you're doing, and
Uh-huh.
that's the kind of wisdom,
Yeah.
because Toots, he became 94, and it's also about developing and keeping, I remember he was like 90 or something, and then he called me. He just, out of the blue, the phone rings, and it's Toots. And, hey, Toots, and he says, practice Stella by Starlight in B.
Okay.
And then he hung up the phone before I could say anything.
Exactly.
And that was my exercise of the day, of course.
Okay.
And I went to the piano and I started practicing Stella in B. Which is not easy somehow.
No. It's one of my hang-ups, Stella by Starlight.
Yeah, it's
All
a
keys.
difficult tune.
Yeah,
it's a difficult tune. And that opened the whole world.
Yeah.
And then I realized, wow, and he's 90 and he comes up with this idea. And he always said, until he passed away, he said, I'm an eternal student.
Exactly.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's so. Yeah. Neil Tenney Peterson said the same to me. He said, the beginning is so easy. You just have to learn your scales, your fingerings.
Yeah.
But for me, every step becomes bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to keep trying to climb those steps.
Especially, when it's true. Because technically you have a lot of, chops. And at the same time, mentally, it's kind of hard to grasp it all and to put it.
But you just said before, you're not so hard on yourself as you used to be.
No, because it's also about enjoying. When you're brought up in a way that it's always about criticism, what can be better. That's an important thing, and that's what I always will be. That'll never go away.
But was that your dad bringing you up like that? You mean?
Yeah. I was really brought up with really strict. But then on the other hand, I realized, like, if you're never going to be enjoying the moment and be kind of love what you're doing and even appreciate what you're doing, so if you listen back to a recording instead of going, oh, this sucks, instead of going, hey, this is actually nice. There's nothing wrong with that. No, to love yourself and appreciate what you're doing, and there's always many reasons to improve things, but I think also there are many. It's even more important that you just simply love what you're doing and appreciate yourself. I
remember just after my son was born, I played a gig, and there was something with the piano player. As far as I remember, he irritated me deeply, always getting in the way, and whenever I had a little solo, he would be all over, and it was heavy. 3 hours with that piano player, and I was biking home and said, terrible evening, and then. Normally, and I didn't play myself well either. It's also my own fault. You get all that. Maybe I should approach it like this. Then I wouldn't have gotten so irritated with him or whatever. And then suddenly I realized, I had a little one at home. And the whole thing just disappeared. So it was after becoming a father, it was like everything got so much easier in that sense.
Let it go.
Let it go. It was tomorrow there's another gig.
And enjoying, Well, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Eckhart Tolle. The German spiritual.
So funny, Margaret Schurzman. We're also releasing with just busy with her and with the liner notes, and she went 3 months to Norway and she bought one book.
Oh, this man, it's so beautiful. I know Franz, our engineer, is also into Tolle, and because it's a really no nonsense spiritual teacher, and he really learns you to just realize that the present moment is all you have all the time. So what are you going to do? Are you going to be an enemy to the present moment, or are you going to be a friend to the present moment and enjoy it and the presence, and try not to think about time, because time, always think about, it's already a year passed, and and not resist things and being present. I think I learned so much from that. From him and.
It was funny. Margriet went 3 months to Norway, to the north of Norway, and stayed alone in a little house.
Wow,
and when she came back, and she said what she came back with was, be happy anyway.
Yeah.
which is, I saw that's so pretty. You
Yeah.
know, so all this shit
Yeah.
happening around, and you
Yeah.
just decide to, I'm just going to be happy anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
she had
yeah,
that,
yeah.
that was what she got out of the book, you
Yeah,
could say. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I also, speaking about Norway, I have a friend of mine in Norway. She's a fantastic trumpet player, and she plays the goat horn. You know? Yeah, her name is Hildegun.
Okay.
And her she always says, happy for no reason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
I love that.
That's maybe where she got it from.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's
yeah.
like, you know, she's such a positive person. And, you know, that's so cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Hey, but that's a good way to stop, maybe. you
Yeah.
know?
No, I really
Happy
enjoyed
for
this.
no reason, yeah.
Happy for no reason.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
enjoy the moment, and not, you know. But this is maybe a general advice to musicians. You know, I mean, you know, you have to find a balance in between keeping, you know, developing, and of course, you know, listen back to your performances and really realize, oh, this can be better. But you have to also really love yourself, appreciate yourself for what you're doing in the moment. You know,
Exactly.
and of course, at a certain level, you know, it's never going to be bad.
No.
You know, and I mean, maybe you won't have a great piano, or you're jet lagged, you only slept 4 hours or whatever reason, or you're sick, or you know, you cannot execute the music the way you want to. But before it's really bad, you know, you know, because that's a big problem with musicians.
Oh, yeah.
They focus on one mistake and they blow up the mistake.
But that's the same, yeah.
You know, and then that's all they, you know. So if this is like a great musician, and there's this little thing here is a mistake, they're going to, you know,
Exactly.
and they don't see the whole picture anymore, and go like, oh Jesus, I suck. You see this mistake, and you know, you want to die.
Exactly.
You know,
That's why I always say to friends, don't send, when we have done a recording where I'm the producer, but don't give them
allow
anything,
some time.
at least 1 week before they get to hear anything.
So
you know.
that's
and,
so
and,
good.
And there's, because it's so funny, after you give them just 7 days, or even better, 10 to 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, they had no idea. Oh, because they come back and say, second take, that was it. The first take is impossible.
Yeah.
While so often the first take is the one that has all the magic.
That's so true.
Yeah. And then they hear it back and they have no idea anymore. And they forgot their little mistakes and they can't find it back. They come back, I know I made a mistake somewhere. Okay, if you say where it is, let's see if we can hear it. You know? See if there's anything we can do about it.
Yeah.
And they have no idea.
No, but but musicians, you know, sensitive souls, you know, and all of that, and then oh sorry, oh you see I suck, oh sorry I exist.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, just get rid of it. You know, enjoy what you're doing, and
exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, that was a pleasure, Mike.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
We still have to do it like this.
Like
We're
this,
still in Corona.
Yeah.
Corona behavior.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure working with you.
Likewise.
Yeah. Thank you, music lovers, friends, audiophiles, whichever order you want to take it. If you want to hear more samples from Mike's new album, please visit soundliaison.com. And please check out all the other albums there as well. All recorded by master engineer Frans de Rond. See you soon. Bye bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy my podcast, then please subscribe, leave a rating and a review. Please visit my website, mikedelferro.com, where you also will find links to my other podcast, Self-Management for Musicians. You will also find links to my music and my socials. And of course, please share this podcast with anyone interested. Nothing beats the word of mouth. Thank you.